What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by Matthew Moreno, and a little bit of news involving a former Dodger. David Peralta is off to Chicago, Matt, but it's a minor league deal with the Cubs. Give me your immediate reaction to the former Dodger possibly getting in the way of Cody Bellinger reunion happening over in Chicago.
Yeah, so at first I thought, oh, the Cubs finally did something. I know everybody's been waiting on them to, re-sign Bellinger. Perhaps they did sign Imanaga last month, so give them credit for that. But the Bellinger is still out there. They didn't end up in. They kind of felt they were in the early, I think, sweepstakes for Ohtani, but then as talks sort of got more serious with teams, I think they quickly faded. So I thought, oh, they're doing something, and then it comes out like, oh, it's a non-roster invite, it's a minor league deal, like it's not, there's no guarantee he's going to be on the team. And I thought, man, like I am a little surprised on one hand, but then I guess, and I know we're going to kind of get into it, when you look at sort of the season he's coming off, then the news that came after the Dodgers were eliminated, coupled with how free agency has gone I guess we need to say this past offseason because spring training has started now. So
Yeah.
it's a thing of the past. It makes sense in that regard, but still, overall, I am still more surprised than like, oh, well, that was to be expected.
What's interesting about Peralta when I dig into the numbers and kind of the storyline here is it's sort of a choose your own adventure sort of a deal when it comes to how you evaluate this, because there's an optimistic view. If you're a Cubs fan, you can talk yourself into this as a great value on a minor league deal, or there's the pessimistic view that says this guy just isn't very good anymore. If you look at the big picture last year, he was worth 0.1 wins above replacement for the Dodgers in 133 games. He is the definition of replacement level. You look at the overall slash line, 259 batting average, just a 294 on base and a 381 slugging percentage, 7 home runs in 133 games. At best, an average defender, probably below average. If you look at his Savant page, 37th percentile for fielding run value. So you've got a below average offensive player, a below average defensive player that combines for a guy who can only play a corner outfield spot. But here's the optimistic side if you want to be optimistic. Once the season ended, reports came out that Peralta needed to have surgery to repair a torn flexor tendon in his left elbow, an injury that was sustained around the All-Star break, which he played through. So if you then look at his splits, the splits are pretty daunting. In the second half, he hit 231 with a 259 on base and a 319 slug. If you go back to his first half slash line, Matt, it's far, far better than that. He was an above average offensive player with a 757 OPS. So if you're the Cubs, you've got a minor league deal for a guy that you're maybe talking yourself into, hey, the tendon is fixed. He was bad in the second half of last year. He was hitting 283 in the first half. So maybe that's what we're getting. If you were a Cubs fan, which of those two narratives would you be believing?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Cubs fan, I think you have to try to be optimistic, even though
Yeah.
I think that goes against at least the stereotype for their fan base because of their franchise history. Uh, but yeah, I mean, you want to try to believe that, hey, they're going to get the good David Peralta. I think the big caveat to that is also and I haven't done enough, disclaimer, I haven't done enough digging in the Cubs roster to know what their outfield plans potentially are. But if it's not going to be to platoon him, then I think you're going to run into some trouble. The Dodgers have a history of, as much as I, sometimes get a little frustrated with how quickly they rely on platoons, like they tend to be pretty adept at putting players in the best positions to succeed. And that's certainly applied to David Peralta, and he got his fair share of opportunities. And as much as he, as you highlighted with the splits from the first half of last season, the second half, as much as he was better, before the All-Star break, it still wasn't necessarily great. Like I felt like there were stretches of some inconsistency, not a lot of power in there. So, I mean, look, defensively, like he didn't pass my eye test, but I know he was a Gold Glove finalist, so he had that, going for him. But yeah, I mean, if you're the Cubs, look, we talk about it for the Dodgers, minor league signing, no risk, potential upside. So if you're a Cubs fan, maybe look at it that way.
Yeah, I wonder if this is like the Jason Hayward minor league signing the Dodgers had a year ago, from the perspective of technically it was a minor league signing, but the agreement was, hey, this is going to convert itself into a major league signing at once the season starts. I don't know enough about the Cubs 40-man roster situation to know if they need to work things that way or word things that way. I mean, Peralta is a guy that prior to coming to the Dodgers put together a couple reasonably productive seasons, 1.7 wins above replacement in 2021 and in 2022. That's not like the most amazing thing in the world, but if he's the 26th man on your roster, veteran presence, we know he was a positive clubhouse guy. That could be a win. I'm looking at the depth chart as you were kind of referencing it. The Cubs have Happ, Crow, Armstrong, and Suzuki kind of as their projected outfield. This is according to Fangraph Zips. So all those guys between 2.2 and 2.6 wins above replacement. So not exactly an unbelievable group of people. Of course, still a chance that Cody Bellinger does return to Chicago. But I think the bottom line for me, Matt, is my initial reaction was, holy smokes, he only got a minor league deal. And then I think I went back and realized just how unproductive he was statistically. And again, I wouldn't hate this if I was a Cubs fan because it's a minor league deal. And if it's true that he had this injury at the All-Star break and he was a 110 weighted runs created plus guy or whatever he was before the All-Star break, then you're talking yourself into, hey, that's a nice little bit of business for a guy who's basically going to be getting the minimum versus, oh man, 0.1 wins above replacement. Like that's the guy we just signed instead of Cody Bellinger. So I think I'd talk myself into it because of the low risk and the potential that the injury kind of derailed things for him last year.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I mean, look, like whether he's signed with the Cubs or, another major league team, the odds of him being kind of an everyday outfielder are slim, just both from a splits perspective in terms of, left-handed pitching, right-handed pitching, and also his age. And then you do layer in, like, yes, he did have his elbow surgery in the offseason. And as much as kind of the expectation was that he would be ready in time for spring training, like maybe he is a little bit delayed in that. And that could be another factor in their minor league signing of, hey, like, to your point, like, let's just make this a minor league deal for now. And then once opening day comes around, as long as, you continue to recover and are healthy, like there's an expectation from both sides that he'll be on the roster.
Yeah, Dominic Smith, also a minor league deal at the same time. So maybe they're just throwing a bunch of darts at the board and seeing what hits. Again, David Peralta, former Dodger, signing with the Cubs, a non-roster invitee minor league deal for him. That is Matthew Moreno. I am Jeff Spiegel. Folks, enjoy the rest of your day. And as always, go Dodgers.